Don't forget to subscribe to my blog channel for updates on my life, and for iRosie and iChrissy episodes. We'll be doing an iRosie and iChrissy later on today.
Okay, so Boy Blue and his 2 daughters are juggalettes. I think it's cool, but then again, I have a 4-year-old, and to be completely honest, I try to not let her listen to too much ICP. I'm not saying that he lets her listen to them all the time or anything, but, you know, that is a question, you know, to be posed. Like, you know, how old is the proper age to be able to listen to this type of music? Because really, you know, kids take things too literal sometimes, you know, and take things overboard. I know if I was a kid and, you know, I was listening to ICP when I was really young, I probably would have ended up killing somebody or something. I mean, who knows? Because I didn't have the mindset to be able to know the difference between, you know, what's right, what's wrong and stuff. And these kids don't, you know, they're too young to get that. And, you know, they just want to be like their daddy is basically what it comes down to, you know. And the dad has got to set a good example. And if that means, you know, I'm a firm believer in everybody does their own thing, you know what I mean? Like, whatever suits your life is what you do, and I'm not going to judge at all because I don't think what Blue is doing is such a bad thing, but I don't think it's personally, from my personal opinion, instead of trying to be, like, biased, I don't think it's the smartest thing in the world to let them, you know, to try to separate them from their mother. I mean, their mother doesn't want them to be, and she's, you know, kind of not being smart for being like that, and then you wanting them to be is kind of not smart either. And I'm not only saying that because it's not the music that's the problem or anything like that, it's just they're too young to understand really what it is. So you kind of have to wait until they're old enough to make their own decisions on things like this. You know, a juggalette or a juggalo doesn't really know they're a juggalo or a juggalette until they're of a certain age where they actually have an understanding of life and what's really going on, you know. And I just think that both of your daughters are just way too young to understand anything in this world, you know, to really get a true grasp on it. And to call themselves juggalettes at that age is just, I don't agree with it personally. If my kid was walking around calling herself a juggalette, I would be like, you're out of your fucking mind. You ain't no goddamn juggalette. And not because, you know, you haven't been down or anything, because I don't want you to be a juggalette. You know what I mean? Like, no offense, but, like, I'm a juggalo, and it's not like I think we're the best people in the world or anything. I mean, like, dude, I have issues, you know? But these kids have a chance to be able to bypass all that and not have to live the lives we lived. You know what I mean? And I think that's where you need to step in as a dad and a father and, you know, try to push them away from this. Because really we are the tortured souls of the world. And would you really want your daughters to go through all the shit that you went through? You know, all the bad shit, the no job and the in trouble with the law and the this, that, and the other. That's what makes you a juggalo. Your trials and tribulations and things that happened in your life are what kind of made you a juggalo. You know, this is one thing that most juggalos have in common. I think, you know, and to like brand a kid with that is almost cursing them to be, you know, like that for the rest of their lives, have problems with the law, have, you know, do drugs and do the bad things that most juggalos do. And I wouldn't wish that on my kid in any light. You know, there's just no way in hell I would want her to go through what I've went through in my life. And if that means staying away from juggalos, I'm not saying that ICP and Twisted make people into that. I'm saying that people who are like that gravitate towards these guys because it's just what we feel, because they've been through what we've been through. You know, it's a good way for us to have, it's a release for the people like us who have had problems, you know. But to take a young kid who has never had anything, no problems with their life, and let them claim juggalette, it's almost giving them that burden that they should not have to live with. If I can have my daughter avoid that completely, I'd much rather her avoid that, get a good job, you know, move out of her house and start a family and not walk around with Juggalo tattoos on, chanting whoop whoop until she's 30 years old. You know, I'd much rather her avoid that. Go do something real with her life, you know, instead of sitting around making YouTube videos and not really experiencing real life. You know, I'd want my daughter to travel to Europe and do good in school and things like that, not chanting whoop whoop and going to Juggalette concerts or Juggalo concerts. Not saying, you know, I love my family. I love my Juggalo family to death, man, but I wouldn't want my daughter to be a Juggalette, bottom line. I don't know if I'm growing up or what it is, but you know, it'll always be around. And my daughter said whoop whoop already, and I've listened to the music with her. It's not like I've completely shut her out of the world, but I make her understand at the same time, like, listen, this is not something that you want to be a part of. You know, I don't want to train her to be some Juggalette. I don't let her. I listen to every type of music with this kid because I want her to be musically inclined and to learn about music, not just Juggalo music. Because, you know, just limiting yourself to Juggalo music, and, you know, it's basically like, you know, this is kind of going to get off topic, but a lot of Juggalos claim to be underground, okay, and listen to underground music. Well, newsflash, ICP and Twisted aren't underground at all. And you know, to be completely honest with you, it's like a lot of Juggalos listen to ICP, Twisted, and whoever else they choose on Psychopathic, and then like hardcore artists that might be underground to an extent. People you may never have heard of before, you know, whoever it may be, whoever you choose to listen to in the underground of rap. And then it's like, other than that, they're listening to Linkin Park or Charles Manson, Marilyn Manson, or, you know, whoever other bands are listening to. And these groups aren't underground. These are all, you know, Nirvana. I mean, I've seen Blues Collection. He's got a bunch of Linkin Park and like mainstream bands, basically, besides the ICP. So what really are you listening to that's underground? Nothing. You know, really, you're not listening to anything that's underground. There's so much music out there, you know, that's not rap or whatever, or even stuff that is rap, but just like there's just so much. Like here, let's just, you know, I mean, I happen to have something right here. Have any of you people even heard of Frank Zappa? You know, Frank Zappa was, you know, a musician from the 70s who did, you know, psych, avant-garde, comedy, comedic, even some like jazz, rock and roll, you name it, the guy's done it. He's even done shit with like orchestras and whatnot. But he had a comedic edge to his music that was kind of like ICP's in a way. Has that comedic edge, and he was one of these guys that everybody at least respects and loves, and, you know, a musician that everybody really respects, but not a lot of people know who he is, and that's underground. I mean, this guy's underground. He's known, but he's not the Rolling Stones, you know, or he's not fucking Bob Dylan, you know. Like, everybody knows these guys. Frank Zappa, in the music community, everybody knows Frank Zappa. But outside of that, do you know who Frank Zappa is? You know what I mean? Probably not. Boy Blue, do you know who? No, I bet you don't. You know, and I'm not saying that you're going to like him if you listen to him. I'm just saying that there's a lot out there that a lot of people don't listen to. Like, you know, for instance, punk rock. Like, everybody says punk rock. Now, who do you think of when I say punk rock? You know, I've asked people punk rock. What do you think of when I say punk rock? They'll say Green Day and Offspring. And I'm thinking to myself, are you fucking kidding me? Green Day and Offspring, and that's what you consider punk rock. You know, whatever happened, and they'll say the Clash or Sex Pistols or maybe the Misfits or the Cramps, if you're lucky. You know, but there's you know, like Richard Hell and the Voidoids, or The Damned, or, you know, just there's so many other punk bands out there. It's like, don't limit yourself when it comes to music. There's so much out there. And I think, you know, with the Juggalo community, I think it's a big problem. I think limitation in their, you know, they hold ICP and Twisted up so high, and the reason why they hold ICP and Twisted up so high is because you're not really comparing it to anything. You're comparing it to mainstream, which is crap no matter what. You know what I mean? Or you're comparing it to stuff that's been around forever, like Linkin Park or Nirvana or whatever the hell else you listen to, but you're not comparing it to, really dig deep, really go back in history, really do some history work and listen to some of these older bands, garage rock and punk rock and post-punk and new wave and really get into that, because there's so much out there, to just kind of let your musical taste fall into one category right here in this little ditch, and you'll never get out, and you'll just stay in there forever. And I'm sorry to admit it, but for years, for at least 3 or almost 4 years, I was strictly just listening to ICP and Twisted and anything that Psychopathic would put out. And other than that, I wasn't listening to nothing. And I feel I had missed a lot. I missed a lot of really good music because of it. Because music, it doesn't have a label on it. It's not like, oh, well, it's this, so I'm not going to listen to it. There's music out there that's even popular that's worth listening to, and, I think that's a big thing. I know I went off topic here talking about the kids. I mean, basically what Blue does with his kids is his business, and that's how I'm going to put it. Personally, I wouldn't influence my daughter to be a juggalette. Now, if she turned in to be a juggalette, I'd be okay with it, and I'd back her 100% and support it. Obviously, I'm a juggalo. I wouldn't mind, but I'm not going to influence her to be something that I want her to be. I want her to be her own entity. I want her to develop her own identity, and in a way, this is kind of why I fell back a little bit from the juggalo thing, because I don't want to be in a group of people where I'm labeled as something just because of what other people do in that group. In a way, I am a juggalo through and through for the rest of my life. I love the music. I'll always listen to it. I'll always represent it, and I'll always be there to stand with my juggalo family in any need that, anything that would pop up, I'll be there. But, when it comes down to it on an everyday basis, I don't want to consider myself strictly a juggalo, because I don't want to be lumped into a category. I think that's one thing that a lot of people, kind of overlooked. It's like, we talk about how we don't want to be labeled. We don't like, labels, but yet there's juggalos out there, dissing scenester kids and dissing, whoever, gays or whatever it is. And it's like, basically what you're doing by dissing people who listen to Justin Bieber or dissing people who listen to this type of music or that type of music, you're doing exactly what they do to you. You can't fight fire with fire, man. 2 wrongs don't make a right. You have to do, respect people for what they are. If people like something, respect the fact that they like it. If you don't like it, that's fine. But you're just as bad as these haters on here that hate juggalos for no fucking reason, except for that they don't understand you. Okay, so they don't understand you guys, so they hate you. Now, why are you going to turn around and do the same thing to other people? All you're doing is you're just as bad as them. And then when people from the outside world look at videos like Blue's video with the kids, that's just not helping us at all. It's not. I mean, I think it's adorable. I think it's cool that what he's doing. I just hope that he's not, I don't think he should be pushing it, but then again, I'm not their father, therefore I'm not a part of that. Blue, do what you want to do, and I'm pretty sure hopefully you have the right common sense in your mind to sit them down and let them know the wrongs and rights of things, because, there's a lot of things that are wrong that juggalettes do, and I'm not saying that all juggalettes are this or all juggalettes are that, but what I am saying is that a number of them have the tendency to, be a little more open than other people, and that's okay. I'm not saying that that's not okay. I like loose women, don't get me wrong. And I think being loose in your sexuality is not a bad thing either. I think having sex is a way of life. It's something you do, but I think at an early age you need to instill in a child's mind that it's not right to just go around and, it's not something that you want to do all the time, and you got to protect yourself, and you got to just be honest with kids. I don't know. It's a touchy subject, but it's got me making this video and thinking about things, because, my daughter, I don't push it on her. I do not constantly push it on her. She'll see my Shaggy and Jay mask, and she hears the music when I'm listening to it, and she likes the movies. Like if I'm watching Killer Clowns from Outer Space, even though it's not ICP, but still, I mean, she likes the killer clown thing. She's really into horror movies like I am too, and she's young. She's 4 years old, but she's not so wrapped up into it where I'm letting her wear hatchet gear or You know, when she was young, I bought her a little, onesie with a Hatchet Man on it, and she has a shirt or two, but it's not like I'm not trying to make her a juggalette. I don't want her to walk around screaming whoop whoop at people. She's too young to be. She's got enough shit. Who knows what's going to be thrown in her direction. She doesn't need something on top of that making it harder for her, because really, in a way, being a juggalo or being a juggalette does nothing but make things harder. I mean, I had to remove the Hatchet Man sticker from my car so that I wouldn't get pulled over, because it was making things ridiculous. I would get pulled over for nothing. You know what I mean? Like, and don't get me wrong, I rep all day, all night. It's the tattoos on my arm. It's not going nowhere. But if I can avoid it, if I can avoid letting people know, I'm gonna, because I don't need more hassle for no reason. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason to go out and find trouble. It's bad enough that trouble tries to find us, that we don't need to go out and search for it. But yeah, I mean, it's just thoughts, and I will be doing the Abominations review soon. Hopefully within the next few days. Probably within the next week, I'll do the Abominations review. Somebody asked me to do it, and I said to him in a comment, I was like, basically it's the shit. I mean, I don't know what more to tell you. I mean, I can go on a little rant about it and talk, a little bit more in depth about each song, and I will, but, I mean, my review's completely and utterly praising the album. There might be one or two things I could point out that I didn't like, but nothing big enough to really make a drastic thing that I'm going to say that I didn't like the album. I mean, that's not going to happen. The album was great. Definitely was one of the best releases I've heard in a long time from Psychopathic Records. I'm just hoping that it stays. It's one of those albums that doesn't play out quick, kind of like Independence Day for me played out really quick. It wasn't, it wasn't lasting. It was good, but it didn't have an impact where it held on, like albums like The Green Book and some of those older albums really do, hold on over the years and stand the test of time. And that's really what it comes down to. Are you making music that's really good now, but will it stand the test of time? And really, you're only going to know that through time, Same thing with Wicked. I think a lot of stuff on Wicked was great, but it didn't really stand the test of time. Like Whoa, 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 I think probably was one of the best songs on that album, because it was such a touching, and I don't want to get into this because a lot of this I'm going to be talking about in the Abominations review, so we'll just leave that for that. 17 minutes, Blue, you do you, man. In a way, it just made me think, because I have a 4-year-old too, and I think about it too, but I'm not gonna. My personal stance on it is I'm not gonna influence her. I want her to choose her own direction. That's my stance on parenting. I don't want to, in any way, force or influence my daughter to do something that she otherwise wouldn't have done. I want her to make her own decisions, because the decisions I've made in my life are not perfect, so there's no reason why I should be making decisions for somebody else, especially not, anything that could hurt her. And in all actuality, in the coming years, depending on which way this world and this community of juggalos goes, being a juggalo or being associated with it could very well hurt you. And it might not be a good idea to associate yourself with it. You can love it, you can rep it, you can, in your heart, know what it means to you, but do you really have to go out into the mall and act like an obscene fool and wear ICP merchandise every day? Do you really need to do that if you have a tattoo, or even if you don't need a tattoo? If I could reverse myself, I might not even have gotten, I might have only got one tattoo. I look at some of the tattoos I have and I'm kind of like, I could have just did with one. I got a Lotus, I got a Hatchet Man, and I got a Ringmaster in the back of my neck, and those are all ICP-related tattoos. I really could have just done with the Lotus. Like, that's the one I like the most, and the Ringmaster is nice, but it's on the back of my neck, and, like, people see that shit all the time, and I get judged by it from everyone, from girls, from, there could be a girl who otherwise would probably fuck me, and she'll see that tattoo and not even want anything to do with me because I'm a juggalo. And that's ridiculous. I mean, I know in my mind, I think, you know, I don't want someone like that anyway. Why would I want somebody who judges somebody like that anyway? And in a way, it kind of does save me from those type of people, but you know, I could be missing out on something really wonderful because of that. And, you know, some people just, I don't know. You know, it's a confusing thing. You know, you grow up, and that's just basically what it comes down to. And I know now what a lot of older juggalos go through with, you know, leaving the family, which I'll never do. I mean, I'll always go to shows. I'll always be down with this. Leaving the family is not an option for me. You know, I do really care about this movement and this music. I do. But I'm more about the music, you know. I'm more about that side of it than I am anything else. I care about this music and this movement and what it means to the rest of society, because it really does. You know, especially with the FBI thing, there's a lot, and I could speak on it some more, and I probably will in future videos. I don't want to get too fucking deep into it right now. But there's, you know, it's just like the legalization of marijuana. I've said it before, you know. It's not like you have to agree with marijuana being legalized to really understand what you're fighting for, because you're not necessarily fighting for the marijuana legalization. You're fighting for the rights of people. And that's what this ICP thing is. You don't have to like ICP or Psychopathic Records or give a fuck about that. But if they were trying to tell you and whatever you listen to or whatever you're into, if they were trying to say that's bad and you're a gang now because you know, whatever, you listen to, you know, Lady fucking Gaga, now they're calling all you people who are little monsters or whatever, they're calling you a gang, would you not stand up and do something about it? It's, you know, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people would back you even if they're not fans of Lady Gaga, because it's not the rights of juggalos, it's the rights of human beings. We are all human beings, and you shouldn't be separating us because we listen to this type of music or wear this type of clothing. We should all be, and like it says in the Constitution, created equal and this, that, and the other. But where is that when you start calling all juggalos a gang because there's some juggalos who are in gangs, you know? And everybody knows that it's logic. It's not. It doesn't take a fucking genius to sit back and look at this situation and say, these dudes, these FBI guys have lost their fucking minds, and they really are out of line, and it's ridiculous what they've done. You know, and it's put a bullseye on a lot of people's heads for no reason. You know, I'm driving with my 4-year-old daughter and my girl down the street, and next thing you know, I'm pulled over because of a hatchet man on my car. Not because I'm a gang member, not because I've done anything wrong, not because I'm over the speed limit, not because I ain't got wearing a seatbelt, not because I'm smoking weed, not because I'm doing anything wrong, because of a hatchet man sticker on my car. That's why. Is that enough reason to be pulling somebody over and harassing them and getting them in trouble? I've been in trouble all my fucking life. Do you think I need more trouble? Hell fucking no. And if it means taking a hatchet man off of my car to stay out of trouble, you damn well better believe I'm taking it off my car, because I don't need the fucking hassle. That's it. I mean, that's the bottom line. I'm an adult, not a fucking kid. You know what I mean? An adult. And I live like an adult. You know, I have time to make videos here and there. Actually, a lot. I have a lot of time to do that. I make sure I have the time to make these videos for each channel. You know, some I do more than others right now, and who knows, maybe later on I'll be on here more. I don't know. But I do know that, you know, I go to work. I fucking do what I have to do. I save money. I fix my car when it's needed. I put food on the table. I do what I have to do. You know what I mean? And that's first and foremost, not worrying about what my daughter is listening to music-wise, you know, because right now she's listening to Christmas music and what's on the radio and whatever daddy's playing in the car, which usually isn't ICP and Twisted. It's usually burned CDs of stuff that I'm listening to from different bands all across the board, whether it be heavy metal, punk, rock, you know, classical, jazz. I mean, I listen to everything, so I'm not one of these people who's so closed-minded to say, oh, well, this is an ICP, so fuck you guys. You know, I mean, it drives me nuts to hear kids who say, you know, fuck everything else. Well, no, not fuck everything else, dude, because everything else is this shit. You know, there's a lot of good music out there, and to close your mind off to it makes you just as stupid as everybody listening to mainstream fucking media music. It makes you just as fucking idiotic as everybody else. who just limits themselves to what's on the radio or what's on MTV or whatever. You know, if you're closing your mind off to just listening to ICP and Twisted, you've got issues and you need to work them out, bottom line. I'm Test Dummy 22. I love you motherfuckers. Much Wicked Clown love. Peace. Boy Blue, this is in no way against you at all. So I'm just letting you know. Like, I mean, just my opinion, and like I said, you do what you do with your kids, you know? It's you. And I know you, and I think you're a cool dude, and I trust the fact that you know what you're doing. I hope. So just, you know, just remember what I said and the things I said, and hopefully you can use a little bit of that to help you out with that whole situation. And, you know, I know this is keep on going on, but it almost seems like, and I'm looking from the outside in, so I'm not trying to blame you or whatever, but it almost seems like you're using this as a medium between you and you, your kids, and your wife, or your ex-wife, or whatever she is to you right now, as kind of like well, daddy wants me to do it and you don't, so fuck you, mom. You don't want them to do that. You shouldn't be telling your kids, no matter how much you don't like her, no matter how much you don't like your wife, and no matter how much she pisses you off, it's not right to talk. I don't care. I don't care how much you dislike her. It's not right to instill in your kid's mind that their mother is in some way wrong. Because you should, even though, and I know, because I know from real past experiences, there's times when I can't stand my fucking daughter's mother, but I always stick up for my daughter, my daughter's mother, with my daughter. I always say, your mommy's a good person, she goes to work for you. You know, I always make sure that she realizes that I love your mother, and you should love her too. And even though sometimes your mom can be a bitch, I don't say that to her, but you know what I mean. You know, she still loves you, and she only does these things because she cares about you, and that's what you need to understand. If your baby's mama doesn't want them being juggalettes, it's not despite of you. It's because she cares about those kids, and she doesn't want to see anything happen to them. That's why. You know what I mean? It's not despite you, Blue. It's not. It's because she cares about him, and you should care about him too. All right.